The year 1998 is generally remembered for two things. The year was absolutely consumed by the news stories of the Monica Lewinsky scandal and the denials by both Bill and Hillary Clinton. The year was also defined by hate crimes that shocked the entire country. From a dragging death in Texas to a beating death in Wyoming, these horrific crimes led to people nationwide reflecting on their own views of race and sex. To begin the year, on January 26th, President Bill Clinton publicly denied he had a sexual relationship with former White House intern Monica Lewinsky. He said, "I want to say one thing to the American people. I did not have sexual relations with that woman, Miss Lewinsky." One day later, on January 27th, First Lady Hillary Clinton appeared on the Today Show, calling the attacks against her husband part of a vast right-wing conspiracy. On February 26th, Oprah Winfrey was found not guilty in a beef defamation trial brought on by Texas cattlemen, following a show she did on food safety in 1996 that discussed mad cow disease. After the show aired, the price of cattle dropped, and it was believed that Oprah's show was to blame. On March 9th, Dr. Dre's Aftermath Entertainment signed a then-unknown rapper from Detroit, Michigan that went by the name Eminem. On March 24th, two students, age 11 and 13, opened fire on teachers and students at Westside Middle School in Jonesboro, Arkansas. 5 people were killed and 10 were wounded. On April 22nd, which was also Earth Day, Disney's Animal Kingdom opened at Walt Disney World in Orlando, Florida. This park covered 580 acres, making it the largest park in the world. On May 14th, Seinfeld's final 2-part episode called The Finale aired on NBC. 76.3 million viewers tuned in, and commercials were priced at $2 million for 30-second spots. On May 28th, Saturday Night Live alum Phil Hartman, who was starring in the NBC show News Radio, was shot and killed by his wife in their home, and she ended up killing herself after the police arrived. On June 7th, James Byrd Jr. was offered a ride in Jasper, Texas. He was then beaten, chained behind a truck, and dragged for 3 miles. The murder was carried out by white supremacists Sean Allen Berry, Lawrence Russell Brewer, and John William King in a hate crime that made national news. On July 10th, the remains of United States Air Force First Lieutenant Michael Joseph Blassie were identified after being in the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier since 1984. Following the identification, his remains were returned to his family in St. Louis, Missouri. On July 24th, Saving Private Ryan, directed by Steven Spielberg and starring Tom Hanks, was released. The very realistic scenes of World War II, especially the beach landing at Normandy, France, made the film a must-see, and it would go on to win the Academy Award for Best Director the following year. On August 17th, President Bill Clinton admitted in a taped testimony that he had an improper relationship with White House intern Monica Lewinsky. Later that night, he also admitted in a nationally televised address that he misled people about his sexual affair with Lewinsky. On September 8th, St. Louis Cardinals first baseman Mark McGwire broke baseball's single-season home run record, held since 1961 by Roger Maris. McGwire hit number 62 at Busch Stadium in the fourth inning against the Chicago Cubs. On October 6th, college student Matthew Shepard was found beaten and tied to a fence near Laramie, Wyoming. He would die 6 days later from his injuries, becoming a symbol for hate crimes against gay victims. The crime sparked a public conversation about homophobia and led to new legislation being passed. On October 14th, Eric Robert Rudolph was charged with 6 bombings, including the 1996 Olympic Park bombing in Atlanta, Georgia. At the time, Rudolph was a fugitive, hiding out in the mountains of western North Carolina, and was listed on the FBI's most wanted list. On October 23rd, former Disney Mouseketeer Britney Spears released her debut single, Baby One More Time. The song rocketed Spears to fame at just 16 years old. On October 29th, the Space Shuttle Discovery blasted off with 77-year-old John Glenn on board, making him the oldest person to go into space. Glenn had also become the first American to orbit the Earth 36 years earlier. On November 3rd, former WWF wrestler Jesse "The Body" Ventura was elected the governor of Minnesota. The Reform Party candidate won the election with 37% of the vote. On November 24th, America Online announced it would acquire Netscape Communications in a stock-for-stock transaction worth $4.2 billion. The deal brought together the largest internet service provider with one of the biggest internet browsers, setting the stage for competition with software company Microsoft. To wrap up the year, on December 19th, President Bill Clinton was impeached by the United States House of Representatives for lying under oath and obstructing justice. He would later be acquitted in a Senate trial and would remain in office for the remainder of his term.